The Queen of Spades by Alexander Pushkin. A little bit about the man. He was a Russian romantic, but a very anti-romantic romantic, displaying a lot of ironic distance and self-reflexiveness and parody, making fun of the genre while still being a part of it. He was neglected by his aristocratic Russian family and began an extensive amatory and literary career rather early on, in his early teens, sort of like a Russian Lord Byron. Started writing and having his life with the ladies at an extremely young age. He was very defiant of authority in that iconoclastic romantic spirit, and got expelled from the Foreign Service, a lifelong spokesman for Russian literary radicals, and was even exiled to southern Russia during the 1820s for being so controversial. Now, the tragedy with this poor guy is that he married a very flirtatious 19-year-old, Natalia Goncharova, when he was 32, and she proved to be very much the femme fatale. He died 2 days after a duel with an alleged lover of his wife, and the double whammy is she put him deeply in debt due to having to keep up with court society, her expensive tastes, in other words. Then he got killed over her. Now, Pushkin uses very hackneyed, that is, very cliched, romantic and Gothic conventions in The Queen of Spades. The main manifestations being the penniless and desperate young woman. See if you can figure out which character that applies to. The ambitious and passionate young man, likewise. The decayed beauty, and the ghost. Now, characteristics of the Gothic employed by Pushkin in The Queen of Spades. The Gothic, of course, has come to be associated with anything dark, spooky, associated with horror films and Halloween. And let's see how Pushkin employs it in The Queen of Spades. You have the presence of the ghost, hints of an ancient aristocracy. See if you can find which character that applies to. The villainous, unscrupulous, diabolical young man, the Byronic hero, in other words. The persecuted maiden, the femme fatale, or the fatal female, whose beauty causes harm, is both attractive but destructive, fatal, hence femme fatale. And the same applied to men, the fatal male or the Byronic hero, dangerously attractive. The supernatural, madness, death. The Queen of Spades is, after all, a conventional symbol of death. Decayed beauty, the grotesque, hidden passageways and corridors, and old houses. We're starting to get very Scooby-Doo here. And as you read, notice how Pushkin both utilizes and parodies the Gothic, that is, uses and makes fun of its literary conventions. Now, the Gothic can be more than just aesthetically appropriate and spooky and fun Halloweenish window dressing. There's a usefulness to it. The useful symbolism of the Gothic, the threat of a past that won't die. Hence the old grotesque countess in the story and the ghost, and the countess's old house. Hence when we say we are uneasy about the past, we are haunted by it, kind of a dead giveaway in the Gothic language there. The madness that is usually shown in the Gothic exemplifies, confesses guilt of some kind, usually historical guilt. And social and or moral corruption as displayed by monstrous villainous people. It's kind of a social cautionary tale.